I guess the problem is that not all batteries are created equally, they're not all designed properly, and not one size fits all. G'day everybody, Daniel and Matt here again from GI Energy. Today we're talking about what size solar battery do you really need for your home. I guess the problem is that not all batteries are created equally, they're not all designed properly, and not one size fits all. So what we want to talk about today is basically how to size your battery. So we'll go through how to size a battery in a generic sense. Then we'll do a few different scenarios. So we'll do scenario one if you've already got some panels installed and you've got a small bill left. Scenario two if you've already got a solar system but you've got quite a large bill. And then the last scenario, you've got nothing installed and you're starting from scratch. And then we'll go through how to future-proof that install and then just touch on how the rebate works at the end. So to start with how to size a battery, I would say the first thing to do is to look at your consumption. Look at your way that you use power in terms of the time that you use energy. Then your lifestyle, do you have lots of aircon, heating, electric vehicle, pool pumps, that type of thing, how you live your life basically in the home. What your solar generation is, if you have solar installed of course. Future loads, are you planning an electric vehicle? Are you planning a swimming pool? Are you planning for a family? That type of thing, or potentially you're planning to downgrade some stuff. Backup power needs, what do you want to back up if the power cuts? And then obviously your budget comes into it. And then lastly, I guess your appetite for a VPP. Do you want to run through any of that stuff in a bit more detail?
Yeah, I mean, you've pretty much covered it off, and I guess all those points there just explain that, no one battery is sized equally.
Yes.
I've got a pretty modest or small size battery by today's standards that I'm thinking of changing. Yours is almost 3 times the size of what I have at home.
Yep.
So there's 2 examples
right
there. A colleague of ours is putting in 48 kilowatt hours of storage.
Bigger than mine even.
Another colleague's putting in 40 kilowatt hours.
Yep.
So everyone's got different requirements, and obviously based upon the things you mentioned there. So what we get any of the guys in the office to do that are designing the system for you is to look at all these points. So how much power do you use? When's it used? How it's used? What's it used for? What changes will there be there? And I guess with the subsidy that's come into place now, it's really sort of then looking at, is there the appetite for a VPP, or the potential where you need to maybe use a retailer to supplement the charging in winter on overcast days or whatever else. That's something that I really look at because I use that myself.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people miss that fact. And realistically, moving forward, there's going to be more opportunities for that just because of the way the grid is operating, the amount of solar in the network and everything else. So backup power as well, depending on where you're located, rural, metro, stuff like that. So I think, as you said, you've summarised them spot on, and that's the stuff that we want to go through because each system's tailored. Everyone's got different needs, everyone's got different goals that they're wanting to achieve. Despite what sort of, you see the sort of clickbait ads where it's just size battery, no mention of inverter size, whatever, how that will work. It's like, you're doing this once. Do it right.
It's really annoying, isn't it, when we speak to people that have had quotes from other people. And obviously there's loads of good companies around, but there's also loads of pretty poor ones, and it's just one size fits all. They've basically probably got a script there they're following in some cases, or they just have a system size to keep it easy for a big sales team or whatever it is. So 2 or 3 questions. Okay, sir, ma'am,
here's yours.
This is what you need. Next customer, same thing. And it's always just a set size battery, probably with a really small inverter to keep the cost down. And that's just not how it should be. If you're giving someone the time as a consultant to ask these questions and they're not asking the questions, then they're not doing it properly. The reason I say if you're giving them time, we sometimes have people call up here, they just want a quote. How much is it for this? And then that's fine, you have to do that. But to do it properly, you should be spending time going through all this stuff, really, shouldn't you? And not, you can't have a battery system that is the same for everyone. It makes no sense at all.
You speak to some people occasionally where they say to you, why are you asking me these questions? The other person I spoke to didn't. And you just think, well, what did they ask? If you're providing a battery for a home with zero knowledge of maybe other than the usage or not even the usage, sometimes it's just the bill amount. And rates can be so different, supply charges, there might have been a rebate on the bill from state or you know what I mean, or government or something as well. So it's so important, because if you do this and it's not sized right, yeah, you can potentially add to it if you've got the, you know what I mean, a modular design system. You're not getting the subsidy.
Yeah.
And you're paying for a second install.
Yep.
So, and those installs are normally a bit more from a lot of companies because they want to make money on the original job. The add-ons are actually quite a tricky thing a lot of the time to obviously set time aside for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like as you said, you get people that just want a price on something. That's fine. We can provide a price, but we want to make sure we're getting as much info as we can if that's a job that we want to be considered for sure.
Yeah, it's just the right way to do it.
Of course it is. Well, if not, that person's probably going to call back in 6 months and say my battery's not working, and it might be working, but without knowing any of that other information, we can't actually say what it's doing.
Yeah.
So it's just figuring out the info.
Yeah, going through that list, building up that good profile.
Yeah, for sure.
And then designing the system accordingly.
Yeah.
Should we jump into some scenarios?
Yeah, for sure.
So the first one, let's say you've got a solar system installed that's been there for a while, no battery yet.
Yeah.
You've still got a bill of, say, $200 a month, $600 a quarter, something like that. Obviously, again, there's so many variables here.
Yeah.
But just to give you something tangible from the video.
Yes.
That customer comes to you, they're on a generic tariff, typical load in the home, nothing out of the ordinary. Where do you go from there with that in terms of sizing?
Yeah, I guess that's probably been the most common, because there's so many solar systems that are in that probably bracket of maybe 5 to 10 years old that are probably around that sort of 5 to 6 kilowatts in size.
Yeah.
Can be some great systems installed, Fronius SMA inverters that are 5-10 years old that are awesome, working really well with great panels. Vice versa, there can be a few on the opposite end. But I guess if I'm looking at that personally, I'd want to understand how that power is being used. So are they generating, say, 20 kilowatt hours a day? They're feeding in 10, so I know they're using 10 from the system, so we can get a recording from hopefully the monitoring or the screen on the inverter that shows us that generation. Then we can say, okay, there's 10 spare there that can be stored in a battery.
Yep.
So do we then look at either, okay, a 16 to 24 kilowatt hour battery, which we may need some help with a VPP or a certain retailer just to make sure we can fill that, because if we've only got 10 spare and the battery's 16, we're obviously shy 16 there. That might be seasonal in winter. Obviously there's overcast days and stuff like that. But realistically, what I'd probably be looking at there, depending on the inverter, is can we put a second system alongside it with a 16 to 24 kilowatt hour battery, depending on future needs, just to make sure we are able to generate our own solar where we can.
Yeah.
It's great to supplement it with a retailer. That's what I do with a pretty big solar system, but just means I get it every day of the year if it's raining or if it's sunny. Or is their budget just allowing for the battery, and then we just look at how that'll work there. So it comes back to those points you mentioned, if they're looking for backup, VPP or whatever else. But I guess in a nutshell, most likely with that sort of bill, you'd probably look around that sort of 16 to 24 kilowatt hour, because their usage is probably around that sort of 15 to low teens with that size bill.
Yeah, yeah. And again, there's loads of variables. Obviously, this is pretty generic.
Yes.
And as you said, if you could get more panels on, that might be suitable as well.
Yeah, for sure.
The next one, if you've got a solar system installed, potentially it's a smaller system, or you just use a lot of power and you've still got a bill of, say, $1,000 a quarter.
Yeah.
So, $350 a month if you're on a monthly bill. You obviously need something a bit bigger then.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe not even, maybe the battery size could stay around that 24, maybe 24 to 32. You're really talking about more solar.
Okay.
And I think there's so many 6.6 kilowatt systems installed. That was the sort of buzzword, however you want to describe it, for so long.
Yeah.
And we still get asked it now because you see it on those social media ads and some of those sort of bigger volume companies. That's just what they put on there because it's the easiest to install, claim the max SDCs with no monitoring device or smart meter, so probably no switchboard work. So it's just chuck it on, walk away. 6.6 is never the right size for anyone, realistically. Like, why would it be? Just makes no sense. It's just a generic arbitrary number that someone's decided on.
Yeah.
So in that case, we really want to look at, what's using that power, how that system's working, and then say, okay, can we get another 5, 6, maybe even 10 kilowatts of solar on there if it's a bigger 3-phase home? If it's a 3-phase site, which a lot of those would be with that size bill quite often, then what we can likely do is leave the old inverter in place, AC couple it to a new system with panels into that new system. That way you get the full benefit of everything.
Yep.
Backup, black start, exactly what you'd want from the system. And if we can get up to 10 kilowatts of panels, then we know we're going to be able to generate another 35, 40 kilowatt hours a day, which that bill would be representing, which is pretty common now because people have added EVs. They've put in ducted aircon, pools, all these other bits and pieces. So that's what we really want to understand what's going on right now with your system. Okay, let's look at this.
Yeah, and then potentially a bigger battery as well, depending on the appetite for a VPP and all the rest of it.
That's probably what we're looking at once you're going over that sort of 32 mark is more so, okay, VPP or, I don't know, vehicle to grid, vehicle to home in the future, something else that potentially will occur there. Because that extra power there is most likely over and above what you're using. If your bill's around that mark, probably 30 kilowatt hours a day.
Yeah.
So if you're going up to a 48 kilowatt hour battery, you're either giving yourself a lot of headroom, which is also great, or that's your spare power then to trade, which can also be really, really beneficial.
Yeah. Lastly, and we've probably covered a bit of this one, just talking about that second scenario, but if you've got nothing installed, so no solar panels, no battery, let's say your bill's $1,200 a quarter, or even $1,000 a quarter, same as the last one, but you've got nothing installed, where do you go from there?
I guess look at the single phase or three phase initially firstly, but most likely in that instance we'll probably look at as much solar as you can fit on the roof within budget that you want to spend, because if you can get 14, 15, 16 kilowatts on a single phase home, probably most likely be north, east and west, potentially even south a lot of the time now is where that roof space may be, because when we have a battery we really want to generate power in a smooth curve. All facing north, where you fill up the battery in the middle of the day, can work okay, but really if you can smooth out those peaks, you generate power a bit earlier.
Yeah. So
that means that you're not necessarily needing the battery to last as long potentially, especially in winter when the sun obviously comes up that much later. And vice versa in the afternoon. I've completely loaded up my western side, same at your place.
Yeah, I have too, yeah.
Because in the summer, for 3 or 4 months, you've probably got that aircon on. I mean, if you're home on the weekend, it's probably on anyway. But if you're coming home at 3, 4, 5 o'clock after school, after work, whatever it might be, first thing you walk into the house, aircon's on. Because your house is roasting.
Yeah.
Or you set it on a timer, and we can obviously look at how we can make sure that that goes at the right time. But if you're still able to be generating a couple of kilowatts of solar at 4:30, 5 o'clock, just means you're reserving that battery that little bit more.
Definitely.
And depending on, again, if it's single or three phase and the size of the demand at that time, you might have a 10 kilowatt inverter. Yep. So a 10 kilowatt inverter means you can potentially discharge 10 kilowatts out of the battery if it's large enough, and obviously you've got stored power.
Yep.
So if your aircon's using 5, you put the oven on, you start cooking, you potentially got everything covered from that bit of solar, and then as that sort of wanes away and the battery takes over, maybe you can get an hour or two into it where your aircon's obviously gone up to peak draw, house has cooled down that little bit, so it's just leveled off a little bit more. So if it's a completely new installation, then we'll most likely look at, in some instances, as much solar as you can get on there, really. The solar panels are the cheaper component of the overall system, still a subsidy involved. And then battery size would be obviously complementing what your needs are, really.
Yeah, and as you mentioned a couple of times too, their backup is a big one. If someone says, look, we get a lot of power cuts, it's really important I get good backup power.
Yes.
That's a justifiable reason to oversize your battery then beyond what you're using on a daily basis, because it's not always going to be full.
For sure.
When that power cuts, you want to have plenty of storage, and you don't want to set your battery on 50% reserve the whole time. So the bigger battery for backup power is obviously important as well.
Yes.
Lastly, in terms of future-proofing your system, what can you do there?
I guess that comes back to the sizing of the system. So potentially, if we can fit a larger solar array, get a couple more panels on there. If you're not needing that power now, something will over time. And obviously over time, the solar generation will diminish slightly over 10, 15, 20 years, however long you're in the house or someone else is in there. And I guess with the battery, it's if you can get an extra module on there, and if it's within budget, it's subsidised for that initial installation.
Yes.
We've had a number of clients that they've looked at 16 and then they come back and say, look, I just want to grab one more module, or 24, one more module. Just means it's just done once.
Yeah.
There's something that will use that power. Might be 3 years away, might be 5 years away, but looking at my monitoring over being in this house for 8 years, you can see that steady increase over time in what we use. Obviously, our family's grown in terms of people in the home, visitors, you know what I mean, parents that come over, other bits and pieces. There's always something. An EV obviously was the easy one for me. An EV for me added 9 kilowatt hours a day on average.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of that power is obviously at the weekend potentially, and that's probably another consideration which you could talk about for ages. But if you're only charging your EV twice a week, Saturday and Sunday, you need that much power on those 2 days.
Yeah, for your peak, yeah.
Otherwise, you're obviously then having to charge it from the battery in the week or something else, which works fine. But to make best use of everything, that extra power, and if you're charging your car, you've probably got your aircon on because you're at home. If your car's parked there, you're going to be there.
Yeah.
So if you're charging your car at midday on a Saturday, you're probably sitting in the house, or you might be outside, whatever else, but you're probably going to put your aircon on too. So your consumption's just gone boom, boom in one hit.
Yeah. So
to future-proof it now, if it's within budget to do it, at some point you're going to need the power.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is if you do have a firm budget, but you want to make sure that you can upgrade later,
you
probably choose a battery that's modular in its design, so that you can then stack up additional modules.
Yeah.
Be careful there because there's always a maximum amount you can have in a stack, so you don't want to buy a full stack that's maxed out and just assume that you can put more in later. Then you'd have to obviously add another stack, which becomes more complicated and potentially more expensive. But the modular batteries are probably better for somebody that's not able to commit to the full size that they either want or need.
Yeah.
Obviously, as you mentioned, you don't get a rebate the second time round, so it's not ideal. But
at least it's there.
It's there and it's an option.
Yeah.
There's a compatibility thing. So if you wait 10 years, maybe it's not going to be that easy. If you wait 5 years, might not be that easy. But if you're thinking, look, let's get something biggest I can install right now, claim as much of the rebate as I can, and then potentially add just another module or two in a year or two, you're probably going to be okay to do that.
For sure.
That's all I would add to future-proofing it.
I think that's spot on.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Dan.